Well, hello, everybody. This is Larry from the Blue Collar Nation podcast. And I'm here with my idiosyncratic business partner, the tech whisperer, Mr. Eric Sprague. What's happening, Eric? How are you today?
I'm great. I think I know what you're going to say, but in what way do you feel that I'm idiosyncratic?
Well, I like saying the definition, the particularity of constitution or temperament, which is like so spot on.
Ah,
Individual hypersensitiveness, which cracked me up as well, to food and allergies. And I was like, oh, well, here we go. This is spot on. But I think I might have used this before. If anybody keeps track of that, sometimes we get messages.
yeah, like
I
why'd you
won't
say
use it
that?
again.
Um,
Yeah,
well,
but it was good. It was spot
I'll
on. It
own
could have been
that.
like 2 years ago.
I am idiosyncratic. There's no doubt about
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. But that keeps
I
us.
try to use the good portions of it as much as I can and keep the negative to a minimum.
Yeah, well, maybe sometimes it's all in the perception of the delivery.
You would tell me that it's all negative. All right,
No, I didn't say that.
enough about me. Enough about me.
Well, check it out. We've got a sponsor for this podcast. So check this out. And
Hey
we're back.
guys.
And we have an amazing show today. And we have Ed, and I want to make sure I pronounce your name clearly, and I probably should have gone over this earlier. And Eric's laughing because I
Larry
didn't.
gets Smith and Jones wrong, Ed. He's gonna have a hard time with you.
Marchiselli.
It is, yeah. It's actually Marchiselli, but I've gone by Marchiselli my whole life because people can't don't stand a chance of spelling it right
Okay,
otherwise.
cool. Well, is the owner of the Seal, which is a really cool business differentiator in the service business world with verification, background services, ID services. We know so many of his clients, and they use his IDs like badges to go into homes. It's like they please everybody so much. So we're looking forward to hearing all about it. Eric's laughing because he doesn't like my description, but that's
No, no,
just what's
no.
going
I
to
like the
happen here.
description fine. My hypersensitivity to your pronunciation of differentiator is killing me.
Now I might have messed that up too, but that's okay. So we
No, you
got
know
you
what?
here.
I wish we had known about the seal when, this is so in alignment with our service business and how we tried to run it. Like if we had known about this, we would have been on this like immediately. This stood for everything that we believed in. And that's why we're excited to have Ed on. So Ed, thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
Pleasure to
Yeah,
be
happy to
here.
be here.
So Ed,
Wonderful.
we've given a little away about the seal, but I'd like to take a step back and have the audience know that you come from a home services background and you built yourself a nice business. So maybe if you could kind of take us back, where you're from, where you grew up, how you got into home services, that whole story. I think that would be good for everyone.
Yeah, so I was born in New York, but we moved to Florida when I was 6 months old, and I've lived in Florida almost my whole life. I like to tell people I got tired of shoveling snow, so I moved to Florida. But I've been in Florida as long as I can remember. But and I grew up on the beach, so I've always got to be around the water, and we like boating and fishing, and just anything around the beach or the water is where I want to be. But you know, I start before I started my home service company. A little bit of background: my very first real job was selling photocopiers for a company called Lanier. And the interesting thing about Lanier is they didn't manufacture anything. So, for example, Toshiba was one of our main manufacturers, and we resold their copiers and we slapped our name on them, and we sold them for between $1,000 and $5,000 more than Toshiba did. And the Toshiba reps had a book called the Buyers Lab International where you could look up any copier. And so they would show them our copier and it would say manufactured as, by Toshiba as the Toshiba 6500. And they would say, look, it's the same copier, $5,000 more. So we had to find creative ways to differentiate ourselves. And most of it was around the warranty and the service level that we provided. I drove around in a van with loaner copiers. So if anyone's copier was ever down, I could be out there same day with a loaner. So that, we would build additional value other than that. So
So
years
that's where
later,
you
I found
learned that.
myself
That's where you cut your teeth in service.
service and sales, and so years later, I was in high tech for a while, and then I found myself in a home service business. I was in Florida. What better business to be in than air conditioning, right? In Florida. So
So wait, hold on. How did you get into it? How did you make that leap? It's a
Yeah,
big
how'd you
leap.
go from copiers to HVAC? That's quite a leap, actually.
yeah, good question. So I was actually selling CRM software. And so I was actually working for Microsoft at the time. And I was leading the field service vertical for the Southeast. And so I was calling on large home service companies.
Okay.
So, I was selling to air conditioning companies with, 800 employees, and, kind of saw what they were doing, the kind of money they were making. I thought, that's a good business to be in Florida. So actually one of the customers that I sold CRM to asked me to join them, and I said I don't think I want to leave Microsoft, to join an HVAC company. So they talked me into it. I actually bought into the company and as an owner, and then I ran sales and marketing for that company. But I took that lifetime of differentiation because that was always the secret to my success. No matter what I sold, whether it was copiers or software, I always said, what makes us different? And if there wasn't anything that made us different, I created something that made us different. And so, for example, in the HVAC business, our sales reps had portable AC units with them. So if somebody's AC was down and we couldn't get it in that same day, if they signed a contract, we put it in the next day or the day after, but we would leave a portable AC to cool their bedroom so they could sleep at night. Just stuff like
Yeah.
that. Anything that could differentiate us was key. So I was constantly looking for differentiators. And one of the things that I realized, we would be interviewing people from our competitors we interviewed a guy that had multiple burglary convictions, credit card fraud, and defrauding the elderly. He was the head salesperson for our biggest
Oh my
competitor.
God.
And if you went to that competitor's website, it said, we background check every employee. 2 weeks later, we interview a plumber from our biggest plumbing competitor, and the guy had a burglary and a rape conviction. Clean cut looking guy. Everyone thought he looked great. The plumbing manager loved him. We were going to hire him. We did the background check, and we found the recent rape and burglary conviction. So
Gosh.
I naturally, being the differentiator guy, at our next sales meeting, I brought it up and I said, hey guys, I didn't use the company name or the individual, but I said, listen, this is who we're out there competing against. And you need to make sure our customers know that we're doing the background checks and that we're careful of who we hire to send to their homes. And one of the sales guys that was there longer than me, he said, I do that on every sales call. He said, but the problem is the other guys say they do too. So the customer either believes both of us or he believes neither of us. I have no way to prove it. And if they believe me, they probably believe the competitor too. And that's when I said, huh, I called the background check company we used and I said, can you issue me some sort of certificate valid certifying that the guy's passed or some sort of badge or something? And they looked at me like I had three heads. And I called around and nobody did that. So that's where I ended up selling my service company. We had 165 people when I sold. And I founded the Seal in 2009, which was officially the bottom of the Great Recession, which was a fun time to start a brand new business that no one's ever done before.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a pretty
Larry
good
and I
idea
did
of
that
that.
too. We started
Yeah.
our service business with no experience in a new town, January 2nd, 2008.
uh,
In the second hardest hit county in the country for the recession. So
Yeah.
it wasn't an easy first 2 years, I'll tell you that.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So
And I
we
was
were
really
feeling your pain.
worried about that, but what we found was that was a great time to be teaching people to differentiate themselves because
Yeah, to
the
differentiate. Yep.
customer money was tight for the customers. Competition was slashing their prices, and what better time to give people a tool to differentiate themselves? So it turned out to be great. I was really worried about it, and it turned out to be a great thing.
Good. So why don't we get into it a little bit? Like, explain the seal, how it works, and kind of who uses it.
Sure. So, we call it is the seal of security and confidence, and it is just that. We make sure the company is properly licensed at the state level. If there is a license, there's some things that don't require licenses. We just make sure they have a business tax certificate or EIN number. We verify liability insurance as well as workers' comp. We require liability insurance, and then they either have to have workers' comp or be legally exempt from it. And then the criminal background checks, we background check the owner, anyone going out to the property or handling credit cards. And we issue them photo ID cards, verifying that they pass the background check. We never show anybody proof of the background check, but we have a whole suite of tools for them to market the seal of security and confidence and why they are the safe choice. So we have a seal mail system that sends an email or text with the badge of the person coming, their bio, their proof of background check, proof of the company's license, insurance. They show up with the badge, further verifying their background check. The badges have a QR code that if customers scan, takes them to proof of background. No personal information, just proof they passed. And then they have a whole suite of marketing materials, including videos, all explaining that that customer and the person is the safe choice. And it's an incredible sales tool. And to answer your question about who uses it, it's really anyone who is going out to someone's home or office to do work, either inside or out. Anyone taking care of an elderly or a young family member, any potentially at-risk people. But we have the low hanging fruit is air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, cleaning companies, whether it be exterior cleaning, home cleaning, carpet cleaning. Those are all real popular. But we have a clown that does kids' birthday parties, and we did a two-sided badge for him. One has his with the makeup on, one without. We've got a realtor that specializes in elder relocation. So anytime that trust is a factor, and the customers care about trust, and especially women absolutely love what we do.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
the value that you have is you're third party, you're a separate entity. It's not like you're part of any company representing anybody, because again, then it gets convoluted and you lose integrity. But you're a separate third party company that's validating their people, and you're putting your reputation on the line as well as the company's. So that's what stands out, I think, to many of these housewives, like you're saying, that are in the homes when people come out.
I had a carpet cleaner that was actually required to have our service by some other organization, and he called me and he said, "Send me the paperwork. I don't need to see the demo. I have to do it." And I said, "Let me show you how it works, because I want you to use it and appreciate it." And he said, he says, "Listen, I'm a veteran. I'm the owner of the company. I only hire veterans. Everyone trusts me. Your company that no one's ever heard of is not going to give me more trust or credibility." So he signed up, and he now has a CRM that's integrated, but he didn't at the time. So I trained his office staff on a Friday how to send the emails with the badges, and he called me midday Monday morning. He said, "I have to apologize." He said, "I went on my first call." He said, "The lady opened the door and she was so nice." And he said, "I thought she was just a super nice lady." He said, "So I was explaining to her our cleaning process. She interrupted me and said, 'When can you do it?' He said, 'I hadn't even given her a price yet.'" But she told him, she said, "When I got that email with your badge and proof of background, I printed it out, I showed it to my husband, and we decided we were going with you before you ever arrived." And so he
Great, huh?
didn't think he could get any more trustworthy or credible.
I see it, because Larry and I come from a, restoration and cleaning, carpet cleaning background. And, Larry was out marketing flood work. And during the day, I was doing bids for lots of carpet cleaning. And the number one thing people were worried about, because I think in cleaning, something like 94% of buyers are female. Their number one fear is, who's coming to my house? Is there going to be one person or two? How do I know that you're going to keep me safe? I mean, how do I know that they're not going to steal the prescription medicine out of my bathroom? These are things that,
Yep.
and, those are roadblocks to sales. And, we didn't have the tool. We did background checks. We did drug testing. We did all the stuff, but again, it's like you said, Ed, I'm just telling her I do it, and then, I'm hoping I'm making a good enough impression that she believes me. But who knows? I mean, think of how many more jobs I could have sold had I had a tool.
Yep.
Yep. And it's just automated. You just present it, say, yep, here's my seal or the email and everything. And you can do that on the sales and on the service and even on upsells. You just leverage it to get more upsells.
Absolutely.
It just creates credibility, which
But
is
It gets you more reviews because customers are happy. It gets you more referrals because people are really they're not used to that level of service, and they love it.
Well, and I think of Larry on his side, on the business development side, he's going to insurance agents, trying to differentiate himself from every other restoration business development rep that showed up. If he has a tool like that in his back pocket, and you're saying, like when we go to your client's house, everybody has this. They're going to get this email. They're going to get explanation. That makes Larry's job easier as a business development rep as well.
Yep.
Huge.
Absolutely.
So, all right, that's the good part. So I'm sure a lot of contractors are sitting there going, I don't know if my guys can pass. They might have a good team already and they're thinking about doing it and they're going, am I going to lose all my people? Right? Is that the number one objection for contractors?
It's the number one objection. It's the number one misconception. Yes.
Okay. So how does it work
So yeah, as I mentioned, I had 165 employees, blue collar employees. So I understand, what it's like out there. So, I would not come up with a criteria that would make it difficult or impossible to hire or retain people. So, and our criteria really protects the customer, our clients, twofold, and they're actually competing things. So on one side, we help protect them from wrongful hire and wrongful retention lawsuits by having a criteria that really protects them from the lawsuit precedences that are out there. We'll talk about that in a second. And then the other side is by not having such a restrictive policy that you are discriminating or potentially violating the EEOC. So we really help protect them on two fronts. But our criteria is the person has not been convicted, and we're not saying arrested, but has not been convicted of a short list of violent or theft related crimes in the last 7 years.
Okay.
And that is 5 years for misdemeanor like assault or theft. So, and if you look at our list, it's, murder, rape, kidnapping, armed robbery, burglary, child molestation, it's a very short list. And I get people all the time, they come in and they finally sit down for demo or discussion and they say, well, I've got a guy that's got a DUI, or I've got a guy with possession, and I didn't think he could get past. And so there are no DUIs on our list. There are no drug offenses on our list. We will show you those on the background check. Only the owner or HR manager are going to see those. So you can make a decision not to hire somebody based on a DUI or multiple DUIs if they're driving your vehicle.
And that's helpful as well because you hire these guys and you put them in a truck. You need to know these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a tolerance now for marijuana, especially in some trades, and that's fine if they want to have that tolerance. But you should know if you've got somebody working for you that's got a meth problem or a heroin problem or something more serious.
Yeah, you have states where marijuana is legal.
Yeah.
So, where do you draw a line? You can't drink a beer at night. And in California where we were, you can legally use marijuana. I remember Larry and I were getting ready to drug test years ago. Marijuana had just become legal. And we were having no issues with employees. And we had an amazing team and they were bought in. And Larry and I are thinking like, yeah, we're going to drug test so that we could say that we drug test. And then our manager went, the only people that can pass drug tests in this building are the three of us.
Yeah.
So if you test for weed, we're done. And
Going into the field.
And we didn't have issues.
The testing is horrible. They could do something on their own time 2 weeks ago on the weekend. And if you test them now, they're still going to test positive. It's not like alcohol where they blow and they're impaired if they, at the time. So
yeah, and we were having no negative effects of that.
Yep.
There were no accidents. People weren't coming in, high. It was obvious, right? So
So
we
let's
had to
talk
back
about
off
like
that.
extremes. So, if somebody had uh if somebody had just done 10 years in the federal penitentiary for trafficking cocaine, we could give them a badge tomorrow because that was not a violent or a theft related crime. You might see it on the background check and decide not to hire the person, but we're really looking for just violent or theft, related people. Same thing with, somebody might have if somebody burglarized a home last and got convicted last year, we're not going to pass them. But if it's a felony and it was 7 years, over 7 years ago, we can pass them. There is a ton of data out there that if the recidivism rates after 7 years, that person is no greater risk than somebody who's got a clean record if they've got a 7 year clean record.
Yeah. Yeah, Larry and I used to do these big barbecues at supply shops for different industries and the trades to meet people for referral sources. And we would sit at a lot of the tables with a lot of the techs, listening to whatever they had to
They would
say.
tell us things we probably didn't want to know.
Right. Yeah. And we would get all the dirt, and one of the big dirt things was for people who had, like opioid addictions, is they would take a job in the trades just to be in houses all day trying to
Yeah.
find pills,
Yeah.
and customers don't think like that. Like, we
One
didn't
of the
think like that. Larry and I are looking at each other like, they do what?
the year I started the seal, and it was one of the things that pushed me over the edge to do it. And there were two carpet cleaners. I think it was Ohio, and they cleaned the ladies' carpets. And they, of course, went in to use the bathroom. And she had cancer, so she had some powerful opioids in there. 6 months later, these two are kind of out, on a bender, and they run out of drugs, and they're trying to figure out where they can get drugs. And they remember this lady had it in her medicine cabinet. They ended up murdering the lady. They broke into her house, took her drugs, killed her 6 months after they had cleaned her carpets.
Yeah, that's scary. Well, that was one, that was kind of a sales tool for me when, I had these sheets that I would go on Google and type in carpet cleaning murder, carpet cleaning rape,
Yeah.
and I would print up all the stories. And then, when we would talk about safety, and I didn't have the tool, but we did a lot of training that was basically what is now super tech. I'd be like, look, this is the competition.
Yeah.
This is who we're talking about here.
Eric, it feels like you keep calling me a tool.
I know, you're a tool.
I get that all the time myself too, Ed.
Well, it's a wonderful tool.
Yeah, it is.
Seal's
Yeah,
a great tool. You're not a tool, Ed. No, you're a friend.
Your product, yes, not necessarily you.
But
Yeah,
what you were
I should
saying
say
is
I didn't
true.
have the seal. I'm sorry. Bad use of words.
That's all right. And
I
what you were
mean,
saying is true. Fear is a motivating factor in everything, and the media understands that. That's why on both sides are always trying to scare us. The government understands it. It's a leading when people are deciding what vendor to go with. You would hope it was the joy of picking the right vendor and getting the thing. It's actually the fear of picking the wrong vendor. So
exactly.
if you're in your sales pitch, you can make them afraid to go with anybody but you. You are golden.
Yeah. Larry and I used to do these presentations about dust mites in people's mattresses, and we would just put up these huge pictures of dust mites, which dust mites are very intimidating, horrible looking little creatures. And people would just the phone would start ringing off the hook. Like, I do not want to sleep with that creature in my bed,
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing.
We did it during breakfast at the chamber meetings, and they loved that while they were just starting their day.
We made an impression. So, okay. So we've gotten past the contractor thing. You had sent me some information, and I was reading it, and it was really interesting. Let's talk about using the seal as a sales tool. When you sent me a piece that really resonated with me, because Larry and I tried to live this, that people ask about price because they don't know what else to ask about, so they just make it about the one thing that they understand, which is money. And your point is, the seal is a vehicle to take it away from price. So
Yes.
how are people using that in that way?
So one of my favorite phrases, and I wish I had created it, but I didn't. I heard someone else say it, is it's all about price until you make it about something else. And it's so true. Um, so there are multiple surveys out there. I always quote the guerrilla marketing one where they asked consumers to rank the most important thing to them. And 86% of the people, and this is consistent across all of the different surveys, but 86% of consumers rank price as the least important below confidence, quality, service, and selection. So the big question though is if these customers don't care about price so much, why are they beating us up on price every day? Because they do, we're out there
It's all they know.
and
It's all they know to ask.
yeah. So, and it's really a simple and obvious answer once we think about it is companies all look the same to consumers these days. Everybody has a pretty nice website, maybe even really nice website. They're all saying the same things on their website. Everyone goes to Vistaprint and orders nice professional looking business cards, and they go order screen print shirts for their people. You can order like 2 shirts, if you wanted to. Um, and they get their vehicles wrapped. So from the customer stand, and they all say the same things. And nobody says, we're not going to be here, next week if you need us. They all say they're going to do the best work and stand behind it. So to the customer, you've got 3, maybe 5 even companies, and they all look and sound the same. So why not go get the cheapest price? It's like if you get an F-150, it's the same F-150 coming from Ford, so you can shop it at 3 different dealers. Unless that dealer has some sort of incredible service offer, you're going to buy the least expensive.
Yeah. Well,
So
we're a commodity at that point.
exactly.
Larry and I, we never allowed a quote to be given over the phone. If they wouldn't let us come to the house and put on a show,
Yep.
and we just moved on because that was a person who's going to buy on price. How can they buy from us if they don't get to see the whole thing that we do, all the extras, all the little things? So we are in complete alignment with that mentality because we were just like, we don't want to be a commodity.
Yep. So in order to not compete on price, you have to differentiate your company, your products, your processes. Maybe it's your training, your people, which is where the seal comes in, as well as the insurance, the safety and security of it. And the seal is just one very important way, especially to women to differentiate yourself. But hopefully you've got 10 different ways to differentiate yourself, across that spectrum. The seal is just one that resonates extremely well with women, especially, or men that have a wife at home and or children that are at home. But unless you can find a way, what we say, to differentiate yourself, it's got to be meaningful and it's got to be verifiable, because you just saying it doesn't mean anything, because they either, if they believe you, they're going to believe the other 3 companies, whatever they say too. And if they don't, if they're not the type to believe it, they're not going to believe you or the other ones without you showing them. And then they're just going to default to price.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. And it is part of a bigger system that you should be creating to make yourself different.
Yep. Yep. So, we talk a lot about the money wheel, and we actually got this from one of my clients because he described it that way. And he said, the seal helps us close more business at higher margins. And he said, but just as important as that, he said, the customers, because we went that extra mile, he says they're that much more satisfied. He said they're more likely to refer us and they're more likely to do reviews on us. And he said, when I get more reviews, I get better search rankings. And when I get better search rankings, I get more leads. And then you guys help me close those. And he said, it's just like a snowball effect. And he said it works, and it's, tremendous value to their business.
That's cool. So, all right, Ed, can you walk us through, let's say Larry and I, hear about the seal. We want to get the seal going in our company. We've got 25 techs and 5 office staff and salespeople. How can you walk us through the implementation process? If we called today and said, okay, we're ready to go, like, how does it look?
Yeah, sure. So we have no contracts for our service. So we send you a 1-page setup form. It clearly states there's no contract. You can cancel anytime prior to the beginning of the month. And so once you sign up, then we give you instructions. We need your logo, to make the badges. We need the photos of your employees to put on the badges, and we need a certificate of insurance, and then we need the background checks. And the key too here is our clients are blue collar. 99% of our clients they're blue collar. They don't have professional HR that have a degree in that and go to conferences all the time. So we make it super simple to do the background checks, to understand them. We're there to answer questions. We answer the phone all the time. Somebody can always answer a question. So we make it super simple. Even the background checks, you can just give us the person's email address and we can send them e-sign forms to give us permission to do the background check. So once we have what we need, your logo and the photos and the background checks and everything, you get a welcome email with instructions. We have instructional videos on how to use it as a sales tool. We've got collateral, like we've got this great thing called front door safety tips, and it's almost not even, it's somewhat about the seal, but it's extra, and it just tells people like how to be savvy when they're letting service people into their home. You mentioned, not letting them in the bathroom if you've got opioids. So, like, we've got a bathroom in our house that has nothing. If the service person is there and they want to use a bathroom, that's the bathroom that everyone knows to send them to. Right. So, just sort of stuff, like a lot of educational stuff for the consumers. And then a lot of our customers have CRM that we're integrated with. So we have a tool that you can log in and send the customers appointment notifications with the badge and proof of background check of the person coming. Most of our clients are using integrated CRM. So we're integrated with Service Monster, Service Titan, House Call Pro. Nice. If you don't have a CRM, you can use ours at no extra charge. If you have an integrated CRM, it's so easy. We do the integration for you. It's super easy. If you don't have an integrated CRM, we have workarounds. Like we give you all the components of it, and we'll help you build the email templates within your CRM. So super simple. We hold their hands all the way through the process, and then we've got training for their salespeople, on how to use it to differentiate themselves, and they've always got access to our team if they need help too.
And then do you send them the badges for each person, or do they print them locally? Like, how does that work?
No, that's a great question. So we mail badges every week. So if we have a completed background check and a photo for that person, they automatically get the badge in the mail. And we not only give them the hard copy badge, but they'll also have access to a Dropbox folder that's got all their marketing materials. And there's also a subfolder in there called ID badges. And they've got images of all their ID badges. So those make great email signatures. People put them on their website under Meet the Team. So they'll get the hard copies in the mail, all ready to wear with a clip, and then they'll have the images of them will be in that Dropbox folder also that they have access to.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting.
It makes it convenient. You make it easy for them, which is wonderful. Because as a business owner, you're running around with 20 hats on, and you make the whole system. I mean, that's what we try to do too, because you get discouraged, you're not ready to do something if it's going to take you all this much effort. Because what everybody says is they don't have time for everything. Yep. But you make time for the things that make your life, which will create more time, I should say. Absolutely. That's what the goal is. Yeah.
So, Ed, have we missed anything? Have we missed any main points that probably should be brought up for contractors listening should know?
I think we covered most of it. I think one other thing that I'd like to point out, and I mentioned it earlier, is that, when times get tough, which it's tough out there and it may get tougher, that's when consumers start tightening their wallets, and that's when your competition who doesn't know how to sell or differentiate themselves starts slashing prices. And these are the times when we need to differentiate. I mean, you cannot follow these people down the drain. They will cut their prices to almost nothing going down the drain. And unless you want to follow them, you need to find multiple ways to differentiate yourself in a way that's meaningful and verifiable. The seal is just one of them. Look at your processes, the products that you sell. How are they different? The process is either the way you train your people, or the way they actually, the process of what they do, what they're doing, you know, depending on what your trade is, the warranty that you offer, the services, you know, everything, and finally the people. Who are you sending out? So this is the time where, you know, we really just can't afford to not be differentiating ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Larry and I
This
believe
is
that
why.
too.
Go ahead, Eric.
Well, I was just going to say, because we started our first service business right in the, you know, the heart of the Great Recession, right at the beginning, and we had to work through that. we learned, you know, trial by fire, that's what we had to do to compete. And to be honest, even though we were brand new, that recession was the best thing for us, because
Yeah.
there are all these contractors like carpet cleaners and restorers that they weren't prepared. They had Easy Street for 10 years and they were lazy, and they weren't willing to do all the things that Larry and I would do. And Larry and I tried to be creative and think of ways to keep our price high and to add value. And, you know, by 2010, a lot of those people were out of business and Larry and I were thriving. So
Yep.
this is an opportunity. You know, look, I mean, yes, nobody wants a down economy, but if you have one, don't just roll over and die. Like, figure out what you need to figure out. You could actually make progress and take market share.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's what I'm telling my clients. You know, it's like, and that's what Larry and I said to people at the beginning of COVID, because at the beginning of COVID, nobody knew that it was going to be a home services boom. Everybody's freaking out. And Larry and I were like, triple your marketing, like go knock on door. Like, you got to do something, you know, you can't just roll over. And Larry, you were going to
No,
say,
well, this is why. Well, this is why we have companies like yourself for our listeners, because you will benefit them dramatically. We want to bring content to the listeners of the show that we believe in and that they can benefit from. And your product is something that we would have used if we had our business at the time and we knew about you, but they can benefit so well. And many of our clients specifically, we see them when we go to trade shows, and actually they wear their seal badges at trade shows, which cracks me up. Which is, I'm like, what do you? I don't usually say, what are you wearing that for? But sometimes I do. Like,
yeah,
it's
but
just a habit. We
it's
just do
habit.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're
Yeah,
proud
and
of
it's
it.
a habit.
I've had clients tell me they get a job at Subway because they're wearing their badge and the person's staring at their badge. And I mean, they are 600 DPI, full color, edge to edge with a holographic overlay. I mean, they're eye catching. And I've had clients say they pick up jobs at the gas station or Subway because they're wearing their badge.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. All right. Well, Ed,
Yeah.
how does somebody find you, get more information, sign up if they're really liking what they're hearing? How does everybody contact you to move to the next step?
So the best way is to go to theseal.com and click get demo. And when you do that, you'll actually get a calendar with open slots to see a 15-minute demo. We schedule more time just so we have time in between demos, but it literally only takes 15 minutes to go over the entire product and the pricing. And we don't publish our pricing or talk about it. And it's not because we're not proud of it. I mean, the average customer only needs 1 to 2 extra sales a year to pay for our program. So it's not like crazy pricing, but we have discounts for different partners like Conquer and CRM, and now we will have one probably by the end of the day for Super Tech University. So we have discounts for different trades and affiliations and that sort of thing. So 15 minutes, you will understand the complete value proposition, how to use it, the pricing. There is no obligation and there is no pressure. So I tell people, you know, if they say, you know, I'll get back to you, I'll say, make sure you get back to us because you're not going to hear from me again unless you contact us. If you have a question and you call me or email me, I will answer it right away. But you are not going to hear from me unless you call me or email me and say, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Once you're ready to go, one page setup form. It very clearly states our cancellation policy, just a phone call or an email before the beginning of the month. Once we get that back, we send them instructions on where to send their company logo and how to run background checks. Super simple.
Cool. Well, I tell you, Larry just said it, but I'm going to reiterate it. You know, if we had known about the seal, we would have been in immediately, because this is right in alignment with all the things that Larry and I believe makes a good service business. And I just implore anybody to listen, at least give you a call and do a demo, because I think this could be a game changer for a lot of people who probably may not have known about it.
That's the exact word a lot of our clients use. We've got a roofer that has referred clients all over the country, and he calls it a game changer.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Well, Ed, thank you, man. Appreciate the time. It was really informative, and I really, really like this product a lot.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much. We'll see you, buddy.
All right, guys.